So Intel is a microchip producer, and they decided to put one over on the federal government in the same way that we saw this exact thing with the airlines. Remember what happened with the airlines? Oh my God, the pandemic hit. Oh my God, we need a bailout. This is terrible. Nobody's flying. Government rushes in, gives them a bailout with the condition, hey, you can't fire anybody. What do? They turn around and fire people anyway. They did these like early retirement programs, which is effectively firing people. And as soon as demand bounced back, they weren't ready for it. And now they're committing fraud, and they're selling seats on planes that don't have a fucking pilot, and it's a whole boondoggle. And it's all because of corporate greed. It's all because of corporate greed. Well, now we have a similar situation. Intel's multi-billion-dollar bait and switch. The chip manufacturer cheered on a $76 billion subsidy package for the industry, then announced capital spending cuts and mass layoffs while maintaining payouts to shareholders. Well, that's glorious. So let's see what they say. This is in Lever News. Just a couple of months after Intel's multi-million-dollar lobbying efforts succeeded in winning microchip companies billions of dollars in no-strings-attached corporate subsidies, Intel is reportedly planning to lay off thousands of workers. The potential layoffs come only weeks after the company announced a shareholder dividend at the same rate as the previous few quarters, amounting to a total of about $6 billion in annual dividends. The sequence of events confirms warnings about the so-called CHIPS Act from a vanishingly small number of critics who cautioned that without changes, the legislation would let companies use the money to finance payouts to wealthy investors and would not obligate the companies to expand their investments in domestic jobs. So this is what Bernie warned about with the CHIPS Act. Bernie gave an impassioned speech on the floor where he said, look, I support the idea of bringing back manufacturing jobs. I've been championing that idea my entire career. But the fact of the matter is, if you don't make it crystal clear what the terms are, these companies are going to take advantage. They are going to do things that are egregious if you don't make them not do those things. That's what he said. And Bernie's right. He was right. Now, the CHIPS Act, I support the CHIPS Act because we need to bring back American manufacturing. And by the way, look, it's working, not just because of the CHIPS Act, but because of some other things as well. But look at this. U.S. companies on pace to bring home record number of overseas jobs. And they go on to explain right now it's about 350,000 jobs that have been onshored. And this is the first time certainly I've ever seen in my lifetime where jobs are actually being onshored and not offshored. So make no mistake about it. That's a good thing. But you have to have strings attached. You have to make the provisions reasonable, or else the corporations will take advantage. They'll do that. They'll fire people while they pay out dividends. And so the idea of bringing microchip manufacturing back to the U.S., great. But the details matter. And that was Bernie's whole argument, is like, yo, the details matter. So fix the details. And yet those critics were ignored by politicians and pundits of both parties eager to shovel federal money to a handful of powerful tech companies. Indeed, when Senator Bernie Sanders attempted to attach conditions to those subsidies, including a ban on stock buybacks, a cap on executive pay, a government equity stake, and union neutrality provisions, he was thwarted by Democratic leaders. And look, this is, classic Democratic Party move here, right? And classic Republican move too. So what's the Republicans' stance? They virtue signal about, we're going to bring back jobs, and then when it actually comes time to create a bill and vote on a bill that does that, they're nowhere to be found. Fucking crickets. The overwhelming majority of the Republicans are just against onshoring jobs, rebuilding our supply chains, doing more made in America stuff. They virtue signal for it, then they never vote for it, right? So the Republicans, gone. Nowhere to be found. What's the corporate Democratic position? The corporate Democratic position is, yeah, let's do this bill, let's bring back microchip manufacturing, but let's make it rain on the executives at the same time. Let's effectively shovel tax money to these executives, and then just no strings attached, let them do whatever they want, and they'll probably do the right thing, right? Right? And then there's Bernie, who's like, look, let's do made in America stuff, let's fix our supply chain, let's build stuff here, I'll vote for this stuff to bring jobs here, but hey, here's some basic common sense provisions that would prevent them abusing this. And what happens? Fucking crickets. Because Democrats would rather vote for the bill and give executives whatever they want, and Republicans would rather just not have any sort of return of manufacturing jobs in America. They want to outsource more jobs, right? And there's Bernie, like the only sane person in Washington, D.C. At this time, Democrats blocking Sanders' initiative were bolstered by Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger, who insisted that if the legislation did not pass immediately, the company could move factories overseas and hold up already planned investments. Wow. Threatening them. Hey, if you don't do what I want, if you don't give me what I want, maybe I don't bring any jobs here. Maybe I outsource more of them. Look, I get more and more radicalized the more I read articles like this. Because one of the most logical takeaways from this is, holy shit, why should this even be in the hands of a for-profit company? If bringing back American manufacturing is this crucial and is this vital, and even for national security reasons it's important, why wouldn't we fucking nationalize the industry? Why wouldn't we do that? Because at least when you nationalize, you don't have to deal with shit like this, where the CEO is just threatening, right? That's what's happening. The CEO is threatening. Hey, if you don't give me what I want right now, maybe I'll outsource the jobs. Are you fucking kidding me? You need to bring these fuckers to heel. Who the fuck do they think they are? And look, that's the way our system works, right? Working people are subject to the whims of a greedy capitalist. Jesus. When lawmakers ultimately passed the bill in July, Intel abruptly began changing its rhetoric about new domestic investments. That very same day, the company announced it was cutting back on capital spending by billions of dollars, but still intended to issue a strong and growing dividend for shareholders. The Biden administration has not yet announced which companies will be receiving CHIPS Act subsidies and for what projects. Before the legislation passed, Intel was expected to be a primary beneficiary of the subsidies. Now Sanders' original warnings are being realized in the form of a new report in Bloomberg News. Intel Corporation is planning a major reduction in headcount, likely numbering in the thousands, to cut costs and cope with a sputtering personal computer market, according to the people with knowledge of the situation. Some divisions, including Intel's sales and marketing group, could see cuts affecting about 20% of staff, according to the people. So look, yeah, I mean, if this is what they're going to do, don't reward them. Go with a different company. Bernie's warnings were 100% correct, as usual, and they needed to add those provisions to the bill. They did not add those provisions to the bill. It's wonderful that jobs are being brought back to the country. Again, about 350,000 jobs have been onshored recently. But it just shows you how rotten the system is when the CEOs take advantage of what's going on. And it's brazenly corrupt and disgusting. And like I said, you have to bring these fuckers to heel. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.